We'll blame Ariel.
Yep.
I will call to order the July 15th, 2024 meeting of the Clackamas Fire District Board of Directors. At Clackamas Fire District, we are always here for you. We value our people, the people we serve. Our focus is establishing teams, trust, empowerment, accountability, mindset, and service. If you're attending in person, please sign the sheet next to the door. The regular session is called to order. Where am I? I'm not used to this script thing.
So, you were doing good.
The regular monthly meeting of Clackamas Fire District Board of Directors will now come to order at 6:01 p.m.
5:01.
5:01. Everybody's a critic, man. You understand that?
I think you do your spirit job, as long as I'm not doing it, it's a good.
It's there you go. Okay, per ORS 192.610 to 192.690. Per ORS 192.650, this meeting is being recorded. Being recorded, this meeting will be placed on the Clackamas Fire District website. Please stand and face the flag for the pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Chief Brown, any changes to the agenda?
Yes, sir. Thank you for that. We do have a couple changes. Before I dive into the changes, just would like to recognize Council President Luke Roberts from the Gladstone Council here today with us. Really stoked to have him here. And then the changes to the agenda, we are going to have an agenda change to item 6 on the agenda. Presentation of the strategic plan. Assistant Chief Stewart was dispatched out to a conflagration in Central Oregon with so many of our other crews. So we will push that to probably August. And in addition to that, R1B, which is his presentation for strategic services, for report out, we won't be doing, as well as the local will not be having one for R1F. And then last but not least, action item B1, I will be doing the presentation versus Chief Stewart.
And we did have Director Cross at OB2 is going to add some information about the OFDDA and State Fire Marshal.
Sweet.
And sorry, that's a lot of changes. We'll also
I forgot.
B2, I'll be doing the presentation rather than the logistics manager days.
Thank you for that. Forgot about that one. A lot of edits. Indeed, I know it.
Perfect. Okay. Does any board member have any comments or changes to share on the agenda or the approval of the minutes? I'm sorry. Do you have any? None. The minutes of the regular board meeting on June 17th, 2024 stand approved as written. Public comment. I will now call for statements from citizens regarding district business. Ariel, did we have anybody sign up for public comment?
Just the two that you have in front of you.
The public. We did receive written public comment that will be entered into the record from someone that posted something online. So yeah, that'll be entered into the record. We also have Council President Luke Roberts.
Thank you, Board of Directors, for having me this evening. I wasn't planning on coming up here and speaking tonight, but at the behest of Director Joseph, I just want to say thank you for what you guys do. My name is Luke Roberts, Gladstone City Council President, and I want to say we couldn't be more thrilled with the service Clackamas Fire provides. I get to talk a lot with the people in our community, and they are continuously speaking of quick response times, getting out there in the community, and the thing that continues to amaze me more than anything else is just the personability. I found that to be my experience the entire time, getting to interact with members of this organization. Just that everyone is incredibly personable, is out there making connections, and is really someone that people can look up to. And I think that's incredibly important. for the kids in our community. So I want to say I'm very thankful for that as well personally. And then the library was mentioned in Gladstone, so I suppose I'll bring that up really quickly. I'd just love to invite the board of directors and anyone else interested to our library grand opening. That'll be on Portland Avenue, right next to the fire station. So we're gonna be neighbors there. That is September 28th at 10 a.m. So we'd love to have you all there. Thank you so much for having us tonight.
Thank you. I think that was all we had for that. Item 6, we moved up. We're now on item 7,
Awesome.
and that looks like you're taking that one, aren't you?
Yes, I'll take that one.
Okay.
Thank you so much. What you see before you, as well as the staff report, written by Chief Stewart, is a request for the Board of Directors to pass a resolution adopting the Clackamas Fire District representation in the updates to the Clackamas County Multi-Jurisdictional Natural Hazard Mitigation Plan. This is part of a 5-year planning cycle through Clackamas County. Approached local jurisdictions in 2023 to update their addendum to the county's natural hazard mitigation plan. It was brought forward to Brian's attention and then to mine that our history is off in that plan, and we are pushing those edits forward. I'm not sure if it's going to hit the plan in enough time because it's been pushed on to FEMA. But that doesn't have anything to do with the resolution. That's more of the history of the name of Clark's in the document. And Director Wallace one brought that forward. We appreciate that catch. And it seems like that's we've found that in another edit as well that we're so I think it's our template that's off. So we're diving in to fix that problem. So in any future history of the organization that the template's right. The board policy manual is correct, thank goodness, but when Marilyn saw that, we dove in, to look at all of them, we caught it in another spot as well, so I think it's our templates, we're looking at fixing the templates, so we won't mess that up in the future. I'd be happy to answer any questions that you have.
You know, I can't say that I read the entire document because I didn't, but I spent quite a bit of time going through it, and wow, what a impressive document, I just, it's really comprehensive, I guess, I don't know, which I think we're missing, I can't think what it would be, but it's an amazing document. I'm sure I didn't read it as thoroughly as Marilyn did, but, I did learn a few things as I went through it. Good job. Amazing.
Any questions or comments?
And the only reason we have to do this is funding.
Yeah,
It's
by
like a
us,
lot of effort to, I mean, who's gonna run to this document when a congregation occurs? Oh, look it up, let's see.
yeah,
I
and
thought of the second.
it's a checks and balances for us internally based on what we're making sure that we can meet what we are saying that we're doing. It is something as far as funding that FEMA looks to, as far as grants and things of that nature. But it doesn't just affect Clackamas Fire, it's the whole county. Yeah, so, that's really truly the purpose of the document. And, you know, we just don't want, we want to make sure that we don't, have anything in there that we can't meet. And so by the board, approving this resolution, it really, our actions are matching our words.
So, can I ask the president, did Gladstone approve it?
We did. This is an incredibly thorough document and really outlines a lot of very specific things that I was previously unaware of, and so we were very happy to move this along.
Thank you.
Jim, did you have any questions or?
Nope, it looked good to me.
Incredible. Marilyn's right, it looks like it's probably more thorough than it needs to be, but if that's what we gotta do, that's what we gotta do, because we don't get to set the rules all the time. Do I hear a motion for the board to approve resolution 24-03 adopting the Clackamas Fire District representation in the updates to the Clackamas County multi-jurisdictional natural hazards mitigation plan?
So moved. Mouthful too.
I have a motion and a second. Ariel, please call the roll.
Jane,
Yes.
Yes.
Thomas,
Yes.
Marilyn,
Yeah,
Jen,
Yes,
Thank you. Next is B2, request board approval for the purchase of firefighter class D personnel. Personal.
personal protector.
Is that not? I know that's about right.
Equipment for the personnel, but it's personal equipment for the personnel.
Check.
He did read that.
Hey, Marilyn gets to do it all the time.
Nice, Trevor.
I'm just trying to save face. Mark, go ahead.
Thank you. So this is on, good evening, this is on page 67 of your packet, is the memo for the board. This is for approval of the purchase of personal protective equipment for our personnel. In the amount of $235,000, which is what we have budgeted for it in fiscal year 24-25. This is very similar to a business item you approved last year, so we have incorporated an annual budget in our capital plan to purchase turnouts both for new firefighters, but also to replace old and worn turnouts that need to be replaced. As you know, our policy is to have 2 sets of turnouts for each firefighter, and this purchase will help us keep up with that, as well as outfitting the new academies. And we currently plan on using a cooperative purchasing agreement through Sourcewell, which is why you don't see any bids associated with this staff memo that allows us to buy it at the cooperative purchasing price. And I think that about covers it. It requires your approval because the cumulative cost of the turnouts is above $100,000, which is the board threshold. So I think that's it, unless there's any questions.
Anyone have any questions or comments?
Finish it in budget.
It is.
Jim, did you have any?
No, the staff report looked really good. When I read it, just like the cost of fire engines has exploded. It just caught me by surprise. Oh my word, since I retired, I had no idea turnouts cost that much, but it is what it is. It looks good.
I like that we're doing a little less a year and not letting it go 5 or 6 years and then catching up. That this makes way more sense. So do I hear a motion for the board to approve the purchase of firefighter Class D personal protective equipment? I so move.
Second.
Arrow, could you please call the roll?
Thomas,
Yes.
Chris,
Yes.
Marilyn,
Yes,
Jim.
Yes.
Jay.
Yes.
Thank you. Under business, we have 81 board committee and liaison reports. First one up, we have Volunteer Association Liaison Director Searing.
Thanks, Chris. On July 1st, I attended the Volunteer Quarterly Association meeting. Myself, Chief Brown, and AC Dieters were all there. We did updates, did an informational, and then the highlight of the night was support volunteer Jerry Carney was retiring. I think, as everyone knows, Jerry had a history in the fire service in New Jersey and then came to Oregon and spent quite a few years as a support volunteer at Clackamas. So Jerry was presented. We all had an opportunity to talk, share some stories that evening, and then Jerry was presented with a axe, a shadow box, and various other things. So it was really a great evening, well attended, and in the end, Jerry really appreciated everything that he received and all of the good stories that were shared. So it was a really good evening. So that was it.
Thank you. Did any other, we did have a civil service meeting, pretty short. And there was one thing on there, Steve, and you're gonna have to help me with it because it was the list.
Deos, apparatus operators.
Is it the flag list?
No, it was the,
It was
yep,
the AOs.
yep, the
Yeah,
Deos.
so just approve the AO list. Because we're doing frequent.
Yeah.
Okay, then moving on, board informational updates, comments, Jay.
Yeah, so I think certainly our board find this very interesting. On June 20th and 21st, I had the privilege of attending a meeting at the Oregon State Fire Marshal's office. Now this meeting was a kind of the brainchild of Brian Stewart, Jim Ader from NESTECA, and Mariana, the Oregon State Fire Marshal. And the idea was to get all of the major players from the state together in the same room to talk about the challenging facing specifically fire districts in the state of Oregon moving into the future. In the room, I was representing the special districts of, the OFDDA, Oregon Fire District Directors Association. There were 5 of us from OFDDA. There were representatives from the Oregon State Fire Marshal's Office, Oregon Fire Chiefs Association, Special Districts of Oregon, and the Oregon Firefighter Council. We were all in the room together. This is the first time in anybody's memory that they can think of that all of these groups, including labor, were in the same room at the same time discussing the challenges of fire districts moving into the future. We figured that we represented about 85% of the firefighters in the state. And it was interesting because I think Mariana, I think that she was, I had a long talk with, I actually had a meeting, I met Ben Stange, who's the fire chief for Polk County Fire District 1. We've met twice since then. And had some great conversations. We went for lunch and a couple times now, talking about that meeting and moving forward. But I think Mariana, I think she honestly believed that she thought that this whole thing was going to be about wildfires, cost of things going up, those kind of things. We spent 90% of the time in the 2 days talking about how EMS has taken the fire districts in the state, made it to where when they respond to EMS calls, they don't have the ability to respond to everything else that they do, because the 80% of what they do is responding to EMS calls. And when they go on an EMS call, there's nobody back home to respond to medical calls or respond to anything else. Some of these smaller fire districts around the state, they may have a 1.5 hour response to a medical call. And then if they transport, then they're out another hour and a half. If they don't transport, they don't get any money, they're out of service for 3+ hours, and there's nobody back at the station staffing the station, so that's money going right out the door. Jim Ader talked about that quite a bit, about how non-transport impact their bottom line so much. And so it was really interesting the way, I mean, this room was just plastered with white pieces of paper all over, and the idea of it was for us to, as a group, to come up with a message for legislature, specifically the governor and legislature, and then push for some legislative changes that we want to see moving forward. And interestingly enough, like I said, the whole thing revolved around EMS, and coming out of that, we all agreed collectively, all of us in the room, decided to send the governor a letter that says that the state of EMS in the state of Oregon right now is in crisis. It is in crisis and it is ready to implode, and it is imploding. I learned at that meeting that Oak Lodge Fire Department, which is south of Eugene, they don't have the ability to respond to calls anymore, and they are seriously looking at disincorporating. Lane County went to Eugene Fire, and there was representatives from Eugene Fire there and said, hey, can you cover Oak Ridge? And they said, nope, we can't do it. We can't even cover, we can't hire enough people to even respond to the city of Eugene and Springfield, let alone cover anybody else. So they're scrambling down there in Lynn County right now, trying to just get somebody to respond to fire and EMS calls in Oak Ridge. Baker City quit running EMS calls. And you also may have heard, because of cost, Lifelight Network is no longer responding to ground transports. They completely cut off their ground transports, their inter-facility ground transports, and gone back to just what their core services. And we see this around the state and a lot of agencies that are responding to medical calls less and less and going back to core services of non-EMS responding things. So the conversation was interesting to say the least, but we did identify 12 areas of legislative changes that we really need to see. Some of them were based on urban renewal, how urban renewal is hurting us so bad. But it was very powerful. And my meeting with Ben Stange afterwards, who also sits on an executive committee that's doing some things legislatively, was pretty powerful, because now the other thing that we've got going now is Oregon Fire Chiefs Association, Special Districts of Oregon, and OFDDA have collectively gotten together to work together specifically with a single voice to try to create legislative change. And of course, hopefully labor, Oregon Firefighter Council, will support what we're doing too. Right now, it looks good. Right now, it looks really good that Oregon Firefighter Council is going to support what we're doing because it's the right thing to do. So it was really powerful. I wish Brian was here, because I don't want to say too much, because you know, Brian is much more involved in it than I am, and I know there's a lot of stuff working in the background. But the cool stuff is there's a lot of stuff working in the background, and it's all positive. A lot of relationships are being formed, and or being strengthened through this whole thing. And I was really glad to be part of it. I got, at the end, the fire marshal asked me to speak on ProPax, the OFDDA on stuff moving forward. That was really cool, being able to talk to everybody about our organization's stuff that's going on. And then Brian spoke, I believe, on, and Ben Stain spoke for the Special Districts of Oregon. Jim Ader talked about with the Oregon Fire Chiefs Association, and we all have the same voice. And even Carl Koenig spoke for the firefighter council, and it was really cool to see everybody saying the same thing. And so I'm very optimistic about where this is going legislatively and with the governor. Once again, we're gonna have to see what happens, but there's power in numbers, there's powers in one voice, and we're finding it was amazing. It was very optimistic. I enjoyed it and thought it was really good for the fire service. So more to come on that, but yeah, like I said, since then, I've been involved in 3 different meetings just since the 21st that revolve around that specific event. So it's good. It's good. Anyway.
My question is, when you are sending a letter to the governor, what kind of things are you asking for? What-
Yeah,
give me an example of-
that's yet to come. There was actually a lady, and I'm not sure exactly of her capacity, but they kept referring to her as doctor. So she obviously has a PhD in some sort of like creative writing or something, because she was specifically taking notes. And the idea was for her to draft this letter very specifically of the things that we talked about that we wanted to get in front of the governor. And so I believe she's still drafting on that, because we've actually received some emails regarding some details of what we talked about at that meeting. So that letter is either currently being drafted or is in some of the, probably people's hands like Ryan and some of those other ones that are, you know, more up towards the tip of the spear on this. But that's why I don't want to say too much about, because I don't know. Because so much has happened since the 21st. That I might be speaking out of line here. That's why I kind of wish, I've been texting Brian about it, and obviously hopefully we'll have more next month, but it's amazing, and I'm really glad to see it. It's about time, and we're overdue. So anyway, I don't know, Nick, is there anything else you probably know
No,
more about it than
I
I
think
do?
you hit the nail on the head. I think the only thing I'll add to that is it just reflects Clackamas Fire's push of not only locally, regionally, but at the state level. Brian spends a lot of time at the state pushing initiatives forward for the fire service and the communities that we serve. So just hats off to Brian for all the work he's doing, but also hats off to SDAO and OPDA and OSFM and the unified front there to look at modernizing our EMS system and what it's going to take to thrive into the future and not look at it as right now, but look at it where it needs to be in the future.
Yeah.
So.
Jay,
Yeah.
excuse my ignorance, I'm trying to figure out what kind of things are you asking the government to do?
Well, so some of them, well, okay. One of them, just to be straight up, money. I mean, we're looking, the state of Oregon, especially some of these smaller fire districts, they need somewhere between, to statewide, somewhere probably in the $500 million plus, just to bolster them up. I mean, you look at, one of the things that we talked about is there was $347 million that was put out to help the houselessness and the drug addiction stuff that came out from, but not a single dime went to the people that are responding to those emergencies, right? Well, we need to do something for the people that are responding to those emergencies, right? So that was one of the messages that we wanted to make very clear, that, you know, the fire districts need money to continue to do these initiatives that the state is giving money to. And the fire service is not getting anything. And we talked some specific areas where legislatively that could be changed to allow for the state to get more. Some of it was GEMT money, some of it was urban renewal stuff, but there were other areas of that could be talked about. So, but yeah, so there's some of it is just the ability for the people especially the smaller fire districts, just to hire more people so that they can respond to the emergencies in the first place. So,
Thank you.
you know.
Where are we at?
None. Hey, R1A.
I've got,
Oh,
under
I'm
OB2.
sorry.
I'm sorry, I have 3 matters on that. First of all, the North Department Chamber of Commerce, a couple Thursdays ago, awarded Belma Hager-Miller, who is a strong continual supporter of this district, with the Irwin Adams Lifetime Achievement Award, which Thomas has also received in the past. And so if you see Belma or want to drop her an email to congratulate her, it's certainly well deserved. I don't think we have a trolley trail without Thelma and Dick Jones. So it's Thelma.Hagenmiller with 2 D's, 2 L's @gmail.com. Second, at my CPO meeting, which is Oak Grove, the fire district was on the agenda to make a presentation, which happens approximately quarterly. And the people that were listed were unable to attend, so Captain Shanklin came zooming in, literally, from her home, and with a PowerPoint presentation and everything, did a fabulous job. And with a true credit to the fire district, with this CPO unit, which is also very active and supportive of the fire district. And finally, the CPO, I don't know what the right word is very distressed that Captain, or that Brian Goodrich has been transferred away from Station 3, and they want him back. But it is a testament to Brian that the community felt that he was invested in the community and such a big help to everybody there, so. I thought it was important that we should acknowledge that.
We'll pass that on to Captain Goodrich, let him know that, and then we'll also put a little pressure on.
Come back.
Put a little pressure on the new captain. Little captain on the new captain to say that there's been a bar set, so step up.
It's,
Say there's a line in the sand. There's a line in the
I
sand.
didn't even notice that he was gone, I thought it was pretty
That's
amazing.
awesome.
That's amazing.
That's awesome.
Thomas, did you?
No.
Jim, did you have anything? No, okay. Then we are now at R1A, Office of Fire Chief Nick Brown.
Awesome. I'm gonna try really hard to not steal what Steve's gonna say, so I'm gonna steal a lot of what Dan is probably gonna talk about today. But before I get into that, I had the honor to be able to speak at the state firefighter memorial, where they put 3 names on the wall, June 20th. And Maurice Stadley from Salem Fire, Brian Flowers and Brandon Norbury from Gresham Fire. Their names were put on the wall. I was asked to be the keynote speaker for it, and my daughter Madison was asked to sing the national anthem. So it's always an honor to be able to represent the fire district and represent the fire service at things like that, especially something with the meaning like that had. Very sad with the families, but it just shows what our people risk every single day. Dave Lay, Captain Dave Lay retired June 15th. And it's rare to be able to have your last shift and then catch a fire on your last shift. And so there was a fire in Sandy. And he was able to go assume a division role on that. Was that what he was at the end? But really to be able to have a firefight on his last shift. It was a way to send off, and the crews did a great job.
In the city of Sandy, where he spent most of his career.
That's exactly it. That's where he started his career, and then came over to Clackamas Fire. So Jim spoke to Jerry Carney in his 17 years with the fire district, 60 years total in the fire service. So awesome for him, and happy for him and his family that he can finally be done and focus in on that family. I know I've mentioned this, I believe at last board meeting, but I'm just not 100%, so I'm gonna hit on it again. We obviously graduated the 10 from the last academy, had their graduation and swearing in ceremony, which was awesome. But then with that, we offered 18 positions to begin in September for the fall academy. And of those 18, 5 are current volunteers, 3 are from Crew 30. And then we had 2 returning volunteers that accepted conditional job offers with us. So excited about that. And with that, I'm gonna not take any more of Dan's stuff, so be happy to answer any questions that you have. Yes,
Since Madison is going to be going away,
yes.
are you training? Wyatt, who are you training for the national anthem singing?
My mother told me that I had a voice of an angel, but to not share it with anybody, so I gotta listen to my mom, so it's not gonna be me.
Can you respect your mom's words?
I'm going to, I don't think Marilyn would, if Marilyn heard me sing, I think that'd be the last time that she heard me sing. Thomas, I think, could sing, but yeah, no, we'll have to work on that, you know, Dan's daughter has an amazing voice too. So I think she's
So
sang
you-
a couple of
You
our.
gave up on Wyatt and Grace?
Yeah, the rest of my kiddos, I love them dearly, they're good lacrosse players, but Dan knows. But Dan,
Yankees.
Yeah.
This is a public meeting.
yes, and they'll back me with that statement.
Yeah.
But Dano's daughter's gonna be a great,
Dad, no pressure for you.
yeah. She
No,
does
it's not on me, it's on my daughter.
Yeah, Jim,
And she sang
Couple.
a few of our
Is she?
promotions.
phenomenal voice.
Oh, I never
Yeah.
heard.
Chief, I just, last week, one day, Highway 211, down near 224,
Yeah,
kid in the truck pulled out in front of a car and got busted in the side and rolled him. And that kid was a friend of mine's son.
yeah.
And truck's $120,000 Toyota TRX, and he was afraid his dad was gonna kill him. And he said the firefighters told him, your dad's not gonna worry about the truck.
Yeah.
You're fine. He said the firefighters were really nice. He was pretty worried and said, you know, we'll hold it, we're back in case your dad's really mad. Talked to him for a while till he come home. But he said they were really nice. And, you know, a young kid doing something stupid. Because it happens. Myself, I'm waiting at 64. I've never really done anything stupid.
Yeah.
But, no, first time for everything.
I love that, I'll pass that.
Tell
on.
you guys, thanks.
I appreciate that, and that just sparked my memory, sorry, I had one more thing that I forgot, and this is probably what Steve was gonna talk about, but I don't wanna feel that I'm left out, but. We did have the open house, July 1st, or not July 1st, May 30th, 29th.
June 29th.
Yeah, June 29th, that same difference, I'm all over my months. For Clark's, and it was an absolutely amazing turnout, we had close to 100 people show up for that community. Among those that showed up was Council President Luke Roberts.
Yep.
From Gladstone, which is awesome. I think he got the first hot dog, which was good, and that was, you know, so he said it was good, he said I can do a mean hot dog, so.
Did you get a sprinkle donut?
I did not get a donut, no, I wanted to be first. to
Promise us every day.
So,
Bad either.
but with that, and then everybody was at the July 1st opening of Clark's Fire Station. And I know this would normally be rolled out for next meeting, but I just have to call out the fruits of the labor and why it matters. Time matters. I keep saying that. You hear me say it at board meetings. Time matters, and that's what the whole entire purpose of this push for the emergency services levy. But in short notice at Engine 13, they've been busy. But one call specifically, they got dispatched to a car fire. And the car fire extended into the grass, which then extended into the canopy trees. And they got there immediately and were able to put that fire out. I just want you to add 10 to 15 minutes to that, and that would have been a completely different fire than in just as they're arriving, having the fire get to that small stage where they could extinguish it. So, yeah, so just super proud of the crews and the board for agreeing and seeing the vision. And so yeah, just an exciting moment, an historic moment for Clackamas Fire. So. Nice. That's all I have.
Anything else for the chief? Okay, next up, R1C, Office of Business Services, Assistant Chief Steve Dieters.
Thank you, board. Since Nick took my ending statement there, I'll start over. Health and wellness, we completed the open enrollment with the help of finance. It's all computerized now through our Munis system. So wildly successful, and it should keep historical data instead of us filling it out on paper every year, so that becomes more efficient. PIO and social media have been, they were working on short videos introducing different pieces of apparatus and people throughout the fire district, and those are gonna continue on. They have a few more to do throughout July, so you'll see a few more of those. HR has been worked on the pre-employment for all of the job offers that we're now getting through all the pre-employment things that have to happen, so they're busy doing that, and then also HR Wilkie is also participating in negotiations as well. And then community services, Nick stole the event, but there was a couple other events that they did as well. And then in June, they prepared for everything that happens in those first couple of weeks of July that we'll talk about next month, but extremely busy for the first couple of weeks of July throughout our communities. Civil service, you mentioned the meeting that we had. I spoke to John Watts on Thursday, and he is retiring finally after 47 years of service in the law profession. So we'll be looking at options of representation for the Civil Service Commission. And then the Sandy contract, we have an IGA meeting set for July 30th. And those move to a quarterly format, so we'll be having that meeting. The contract continues to go extremely well. We've been attending the CPO meetings, the Kiwanis meetings, and the Rotary meetings, and just making sure that we are out there and haven't had any complaints so far, nothing major. So, we did get a summons from the city saying we had to clean up our weeds, and so that was my fault. I took ownership of that, so we organized a work party and pulled weeds and spread bark dust. So I was unaware that side of the lot was ours. So I saw it getting out of control and thought I'd go say something to the cleaners, but the someone said it was ours. So, yeah, so my fault. And Joe was there. Quite a few of us showed up to help do that. So with that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Anyone have any questions? Jim, did you have anything? No? Okay, Office of Financial Services, Chief Financial Officer Mark Whitaker.
Okay, good evening. As usual, there is a finance report in your packet starting on page 71. I will caution that these finances as of June 30th are preliminary. There's still some year-end work to do, so the June report is always a work in progress at this point. We've got some revenues to accrue back to the prior fiscal year. We have some work to do on some expenses, in particular our health expenses. Trying to figure out the extent of the claims backlog there still from their cyber attack from a few months ago. So I'd imagine that some of those numbers are going to go up both on the revenue side and the expense side. What I can say is I am confident that we'll stay within appropriation levels. And I'm confident that we'll end the year on a positive note in terms of a surplus rather than a deficit. But we'll need another month to figure out the magnitude of that. So I think that's pretty much it for updates for finance, unless there's questions.
Anyone have any questions or comments for Mark?
So you expect the 77.9% on the health claims to go up?
Yeah, so typically we see between $500,000 to $1 million in claims that were incurred in the previous fiscal year, but we don't get billed for until the following fiscal year. So that's the estimate that I'm trying to get a handle on is how much should we assume is going to come in still from last year's claims. Last year was really high. It was almost $1 million. It actually ended up being over $1 million. And so that would still keep us within budget if we had to bump it up $1 million, but that's not. Yeah, it'll definitely probably be upwards of 90%, but it's all set.
Thank you.
Almost? No, okay. Jim, did you have any questions or comments for Mark? Okay, thank you, Mark. R1E, Office of Emergency Services, Assistant Chief Dan Mueller.
All right, well, good evening, everybody. Just kind of run through the list. Obviously, wildland is a topic around the state right now. We had our weekly conference call with the State Fire Marshal. She's predicting that as of this morning, we have about 250,000 acres of free burning uncontrolled fire on the landscape right now in the state of Oregon. Most of it is as predicted. They thought this during the last, heat wave that we had, it is gonna push up through southern Oregon and hit eastern Oregon, and that's really what it did. We don't have, I don't think any major starts in the south part of the state right now, but eastern Oregon got hit really hard, and so a lot of the resources are reallocating that direction. So we have quick rundown right now where we have resources. Larch Creek Fire, which is in Wasco County. So Crew 30 is there, and we have some IMT members that are there, and we had a task force that got moved off that. Lone Rock Fire is a developing incident outside of kind of in the central part of the state, kind of outside of
Condon, right?
yeah, Condon, so more central, just almost just due east of where Larch was. Cow Valley Fire, and then the Falls Fire is a developing incident. Our wildland chief Brent Olson was sent there as a single resource, is a division with an agency rep from OSFM and one task force. And this morning that fire was over 50,000 acres. So they just started reallocating resources over there. So we have a good number of our personnel that are help supporting the incidents across the state. Where we're at right now, we're still in extreme fire danger, so ODF is talking about where that's gonna fluctuate. We did have an opportunity this last weekend on Thursday evening for a fire to get up into the canopy from an encampment off of Highway 213, accessed off of Holly Lane, and it didn't. So the pictures, if you saw social media, there were flames that were to the top of the fir trees, and they were 60 to 80 foot tall fir trees. And they kept that fire in its footprint, and it did not extend. So getting out there, we still have some green in the grass. So the fuels are looking somewhat decent on our side. East side, they're moving. So we're really kind of watching our resource management. I know there's a lot of concern with those wildfires on the landscape, and with us sending crews out, we're balancing that. So we actually just sent out this morning at 0700, Clackamas County and Washington County, put a task force together with our resources. So we have Banks, Hillsborough, Estacada, Clackamas, and Aurora, and a task force leader from Lake Oswego, and one of our trainees. So taking pretty much anybody from the region to send out help right now. So yeah, so while then topic is moving, EMS, Rick wanted me just to hit real quick on nurse navigation. The initial conversation was to have a July 1 rollout of nurse navigation. Couple factors with that, which are fine. AMR right now is pushing out on July 1, they rolled out ESO, which is our charting platform that everybody in the area uses, and they were rolling that out to their staff, which was a huge undertaking. So that kind of bumped up on the priority list. That is going well. Talking to the dispatch centers, everything is in alignment. Sounds like we're just waiting for the doctors to finalize their codes to work with Chief Conway at the Clackamas County to finalize what exactly the calls, put it back to the agencies and get that thing rolled out somewhere around September is what they're looking at now. So with everything going on in the state right now, I think we're pretty comfortable that's still a good play. Like, we're not missing out by not having it by July 1. There's just a lot cooking, and I totally get where they're at. So we're just supporting that as needed. The operational side, Chief Brown spoke to Station 13. The irony, their first call was a fire alarm Station 10, which is always somewhat funny. But yeah, they actually have their interface engine right now as one of the rigs that are mobilized on a configuration. The significant calls, so you'll notice in the board report, there have been a lot of MVAs. You can kind of see that the shift of the weather. So the MVAs, we've had some pretty significant motorcycle accidents, car accidents. We've had a lot of water rescue calls, especially with the heat that we went through here just this last week. So we have had a good number of structure fires. But the thing that really stood out this last month, for the month of June, was that the wrecks are starting to happen. Significant wrecks, significant impacts and injuries with those. So we did have an IAP that we did ops put together for the heat event this last week. So we did do some up staffing, anywhere from kind of hit all over the district where the need was, but anywhere from the Beaver Creek, Clarks area, all the way up to Station 8 and then into Sandy. So yeah, Trent, we're doing a good job of covering everything, and, I tell you what, looking at, the levy staffing and the amount of resources we have, really looking at it, going, this whole history of upstaffing for these red flag days and stuff, is really kind of taking another look. Since we have so many resources right now, it's been a tremendous help. Training, we're giving them a break here for a couple of weeks until the next Academy of 18 kicks in. So, they're trying to clean up, and we have a new training tech that is gonna be starting here for the next academy, as we hired our previous one. So, a little bit of a transition there for Captain Borders. Our AO list that Chris Haas spoke to, there's one person left on. So we promoted 5 of the 6 on day 1, on July 1, and that's my annual report.
We worked so hard to make a list. That
We did, just obliterated it.
Heard a rumor that, the State Farm Marshal's office was looking at out-of-state resources to be brought in.
State Farm, yep, so EMAC was approved. I think we have 3 Washington State task forces in the state right now. And all of them are in central eastern part of the state.
Just like, we would like to call attention that this is the middle of July and we're having out-of-state resources in the state of Oregon.
And yesterday on the Larch Creek fire, they had to shut down air support because people were swimming in Pine Hollow Reservoir. The people that were supposed to have evacuated and wanted to swim.
Hey, you gotta cool off somewhere.
Yes, my fellow humans. Next up, correspondence. I did want the number of comments that I've seen here and I've seen online about explaining those.
South Point volunteers.
Volunteers.
Yeah, we have volunteer presentation.
Did I just jump past?
Yeah.
Yeah. Did I? It's not on
I
here.
think it got missed on the agenda.
Oh, did it? Then that's my fault. Yep,
Okay. All right. Please.
Thank you.
that's my fault.
I'll get following the agenda exactly, so. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen of the board. Since last month, we went through, at our last volunteer board meeting. Again, we, had a very nice, transition for Jerry Kearney as he went to, transition to a life member. We had all the awards and we were able to, a lot of us were able to speak to him about his service to our organization and to, especially to myself as well too. So we always appreciated his, dedication to the service. We also recognized 7 other volunteers that were hitting the 5 and a 10-year kind of milestone. Some of the 10-year folks are actually at 10+, because some of us are transitioning over from Sandy Fire. So we're gonna look into further looking at the milestones as people are hitting some more. I think Jack Tan's getting ready to hit 40 years, and we have some others that are some of our support members that are up closer to the 40 years also. So we're looking into what we can do to kind of recognize them as they continue to support the organization. The through our events since in the last month, we had the Happy Valley fireworks event and the Sandy fireworks event. We also went through at the Mountain Festival, we had the parade, and then open house after the parade, which was very well attended. The at the Mountain Festival, we had the safety booth that was staffed up with explorers and volunteers. We had the rehab there, along with some of the explorers helping out and having cooling stations and greeting everybody. I was able to assist with the MDA for boot at the Highway 211 intersection. And then earlier, well, excuse me, it was actually kind of the tail end of last month. I attended the OPFA conference for the fire officer one. So kind of helped have some Clackamas fire representation there during their meetings as well. And then we had Old Red getting worked on here with John, going through, he's been working on the doors and working on some of the wood in the hose bed to try and get everything kind of buttoned up and well preserved as we continue to use it for Operation Santa Claus. So thank you very much. Some of the highlights over the month of June, Station 12 was staffed 11 of 39s. As we close down that station and transition to Station 7-4. Station 7-4 was staffed 27 of 39s. And then, rehab 321 and 302 were staffed 15 of the 39s. Water tender responses, out of the 5 dispatches, we responded to all of those with 4 actual arrivals on scene. Volunteer rehab responses, we had 2 dispatches and responses, with 1 arrival on scene. Training to note, we had a wildland training with more progressive hosing practice, as we have both brush rigs 312 and brush 74 up at Dover now. And then we had our first quarterly joint drill with Cleveland Fire. So it's kind of a meet and greet, talk about experiences, meeting people, looking over their equipment. They get to look over some of our equipment and how we could better help each other as we respond to incidents as neighboring agencies. I think one thing I just kind of didn't really even realize is that it said sometimes it could take them an hour to get on scene and it could take them 2 hours to get back. So they said that's sometimes when we get pulled out on alpha calls, but they're usually pretty quick to cancel those because then they can drive code 3 back. So explorers are going through with another candidate list coming in for the 24-25 Explorer program. And our current roster, we have 19 suppression volunteers, 12 water tender operators, 6 in rehab and 3 chaplains. And then we have 5 suppression volunteers on a leave of absence for the conditional officers, that's chief we're talking about. 2 suppression volunteers that are doing seasonal related work. One's on Crew 30 and another one's working for Cannon Beach. And then 2 were hired at other agencies. So kind of lost a few people as everybody's moving around a little bit, but we continue to keep working out of the Dover station and responding. Representative Falcons Fire. Good, I can answer your questions if you have some.
Joe, anyone have any questions or comments?
Yes, sir.
Are you planning to make any presentation for Jerry, for the board?
We already did. Oh, for the board here.
It's not normally a practice.
That's not normally what we do. We normally do it at the volunteer.
Yeah.
Joe, I would just say, I watched some of the explorers at the parade, Thursday night. They were great. There were little kids there, you know, Candy doesn't always make it to the yellow line and they were great about running out and getting it. So an older kid was getting it and getting it back for the little guys. So the little guys were running out there.
Oh, yeah.
I think they were having as much fun as the little kids and just pretending they were too big for all that fun. You know, they're a good bunch of kids.
No, I have to say that our explorers and all of our volunteers across the board are doing a phenomenal job. I appreciate everybody's support in helping me and everybody just run the volunteer organization and help back up our career brothers and sisters that were out there. So I appreciate it.
Thank you, Joe.
Thank you very much.
Okay. On correspondence where I was already. It has been great to see the number of people that appreciate having the codes and stuff on Pulse Point explained. You know, a lot of them E3, whatever they can figure out, but you start getting RH whatever and what's of this and yeah. I don't think I've ever seen as many comments about stuff. They just appreciate being able to understand what they're looking at. So that's been a great thing. And I've liked the little and explaining what the different rigs do. I think that's just an interesting you know, they own this equipment. They might as well know what we do with it.
Well, thank you for the idea.
Yeah, I have those once a decade. You caught me on a good day. Okay, our next, anybody have any informational items? No. Okay, the next board of directors meeting will be on Monday, August 19th, 2024 at 5 p.m. Meeting will be hybrid with the public invited to attend either by remote video conference or in person at Station 5. 933-9 Southeast Causey Avenue, Happy Valley, Oregon, 97086. This time we'll recess the regular board, directors meeting at. What is that, 5:44?
Yep.
Yeah. If you're attending in person, please make your way to the lobby while the executive session is being conducted. Are we making any decisions after? So we won't be coming back, we'll come back into session, then just to adjourn. So we're not gonna make any decisions. And we will now recess.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I will reconvene the regular session of the.
Hang on, we gotta do the formality.
Gotta see if anybody's here.
Oh.
We're reconvening the, regular session of the Clackamas Fire District Board of Directors meeting of July 15th, 2024. There are no public to re-attend. There were no decisions made during the executive session, and we have nothing to vote on in the regular session. So at this point, we will adjourn the regular session at 6:49. Yeah, with no candle on it.